Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The prayer this morning will be offered by the good gentleman from Prince George's County.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you cast aside all pride and arrogance among us as leaders within this Maryland General Assembly. Father, anchor us in your imperative to care for the vulnerable and marginalized. Guide us in our decision-making so that the peaceful life and dignity for all people in this great state of Maryland may be the route in and through our remaining legislative session. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Good morning. Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 118 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 23rd, 2022.
Recognizing Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered, petitions, memorials, and other papers. Consent calendar of introductory House bills, number 44. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1452, Delegate Mounts, House Rules.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of House Bills 1452 through 1461.
Hearing no objections, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. Clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignment.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 35, February 24th, 2022, refer to appropriations.
Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 121 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar of third reading House bills, number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 247, Insurance, Medicare, Supplement Policy, Open Enrollment Period following birthday.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 120 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 247, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 277, Public Schools, Purple Star Schools Program Establishment.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 123 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 277, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 279, Veterans Affairs, Communications, Outreach, and Advocacy Program, Veterans Advocacy and Education Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Rick,
Good morning.
good morning.
I apologize. I was supposed to be out today due to medical, but I'm a trooper. I came back last night, but I forgot to contact the clerk's office that I'm here today. My button is not working.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker,
And I'd like to be recorded as a green on the last vote, last 3 votes.
John Lay from Prince George's. Yes.
good morning. Delegate Howe from Prince George's County.
You
I
don't
would
say
like
anything.
to report that my button was not working on House Bill 247. It should be recorded in the green, and I was here when quorum was called this morning, but that was not recorded either.
Thank you, but as a reminder, when that occurs, you need to stand immediately with that if your button is not working immediately.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Making sure I'm being recorded in the green on 247 and 277. Thank you.
Were you here when the bill was, were you on the floor when the bill was being announced?
It's in the back there.
Then we can't take it. Must be in your seat. The clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 279, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 286, Emergency Medical Services, Paramedics, Immunization Administration, effective date.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 108 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 286, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 287, Secretary of Health, Professional Qualification Requirement.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 287, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 291, Election Law, Contested Elections.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 291, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 305, Financial Institutions, Presumption of Property Abandonment, Revisions.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 305, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 9. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 366, Office of the Comptroller, Legal Division, and Private Letter Ruling Procedures.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 117 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 366, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 390, corporations and associations, use or maintenance of improper or outdated addresses and documents.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 112 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 390, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 391, false claims, civil penalties or damages, authorization to recover, and exemptions to general fund deposit by comptroller.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 127 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 391, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 399, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission Minority Business Enterprise Utilization Program Termination Extension.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 399, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 468, Public School Employees Whistleblower Protections, Civil Actions.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 468, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 615, Real Property, Condominiums, and Homeowners Associations Dispute Settlement.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 615, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't know if anybody else is having trouble, but our floor system isn't working back here, and we need that to vote. So if OIS is listening, please make your magic wand work.
House Bill 616 is on third reading and final passage. I'm sorry.
House Bill 616, Cooperative Housing Corporations Dispute Settlement and Eviction Procedures.
Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 616, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 10. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 16, Crimes, Unattended Dogs, Extreme Weather Conditions and Heat.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 122 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 16, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 139, Correctional Education, Juvenile Services Education Program, and Correction Education Teachers.
Is on third reading and final passage.
Madam
Is there
Speaker.
any debate? Yeah. Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you. Would the floor leader rise, please?
Vice Chair of the committee.
Good morning. My laptop's not working, so I can't look for myself. Can you please tell us what this bill does?
Yeah, good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Good to
Yeah.
see you across the room.
Same. We have your bill hearing today. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
me too.
seeing that.
I hope you pass it.
We have about 150 teachers that are at will right now, employees. What we're doing is providing them with protections, union protections.
And why would they not be under, I don't, did we move the
So la-
education out of MSDE into juvenile services, or why did we end up here?
It seems like you're answering your own question, but yes, we moved them from MSDE to juvenile services right now. They're under juvenile services, so we're treating them just like any other teacher in the state of Maryland.
Yeah, and because I vaguely remember debate about moving them out of MSDE. Why didn't, to fix this, you just move them back into MSDE?
No, we moved. No, that's not. First off, that's not on this bill right now. We passed that bill last year, which we moved these schools from under MSDE to DJS, and we created an actual school board. So they also have a superintendent as well, and we're actually providing them. They're under the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, and they have to apply for all those policies that we passed, adhere to everything under that bill. And so what this bill does is provide them with those protections.
Okay, thank you so much, and I hope OIS gets our computers.
You can refresh your laptop and it should be working. And if it's not, he is walking your way. Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will
Madam
take the-
Speaker.
Recognizing the gentle lady.
My apologies, Madam Speaker. I'm a little discombobulated this morning. I missed that vote. My button wasn't working. I'd like to record it as a no vote, please. Thank you.
On HB 139,
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, 139.
did you just push your button?
No, it's blank. Oh, no. No, okay. I'm good.
Okay, clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 139, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 154, Public Schools Anaphylactic Food Allergies Guidelines and Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 154, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 156, Local Governments Urban Agricultural Incentive Zones Authorization.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 127 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 156, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 191, Department of Agriculture Spay Neuter Fund Extension and Report.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 191, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 218, Health Occupations Nursing Dialysis Technicians.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 218, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 219, Dental Hygienist Consultation Requirements, Healthcare Practitioners.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 219, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 237, State Government Maryland Veterans Commission membership.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My finger wasn't working on a previous bill, HB 154. I'd like to be recorded in the green.
Clerk will take the call. There be 134 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 237, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Gentleman from
Madam
Baltimore
Speaker.
County.
Just a vote change, please, for HB 366 to nay. Thank you.
Gentleman from Talbot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change on HB 391 to nay.
Okay. Any other vote changes? Okay. Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 11. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 19, Education, School Construction, Pedestrian Safety Plan, Safe Walk to School Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 114 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 19, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 20, Maryland Stadium Authority membership.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 124 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 20, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 24, Cybersecurity Scholarship Program alterations.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 24, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 43, Department of General Services Energy Conserving Standards, Maryland Sustainable Buildings Act of 2022.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 43, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 53, Vehicle Laws, Dedicated Bus Lanes, Prohibition and Monitoring System.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 53, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 84, Education, Crimes on School Grounds application.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you so much. Will the floor leader please rise?
Good morning.
Good morning once again. I'm a little confused about this bill. My floor system's working. I read it yesterday. Tell us what this does.
Right now, students are being charged as a crime for misbehaving in the classroom, and the current law is really vague, where there's a catch-all for students, and so we're removing from the education code these crimes that students are being charged for under the education code.
What kind of crime? So if somebody brings a gun to school, are they going to be charged or not?
That's still they'll be charged under the criminal code, not the education code.
If they throw a chair at a teacher, will they be charged?
Yes.
If they cuss at the teacher, are they currently charged?
Yes.
With what?
Disturbing the classroom. That is the law.
What is the law that if you cuss out your teacher, what do you get charged with?
It's in the bill, Delegate. I'm not going to read the bill. I'm not going to read the bill to you, but it does state that if you disturb the classroom, you can be charged. So if you do make any disturbance under this current law, you can be charged with a crime. And students are being charged with as a crime.
So that's my question. What crime do we have on the books that cussing out your teacher is a crime? What is that crime?
I just answered that question, Delegate.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat it?
No. No, I mean, Delegate, it's under the current education code for if you disrespect the teacher, if you disturb the classroom, you can be charged as a crime right now under the current education code.
Yeah, I agree. I heard you, but I want to know what crime that is. I'm not sure any students being charged with a crime. What crime would that student be charged with? I mean, we have a criminal law. Maybe somebody from judiciary can tell me what crime that is.
I don't, Delegate, I don't think
they're trying to bail you out here.
No, I'm pretty sure she's not trying to bail me out.
No, he is.
No, Delegate, I'm just going to repeat it again. Under the current education code, if a student disturbs the classroom, they'll be charged with a crime under the education code. What we're removing is the students can be charged for that on school grounds, and they're being charged as a crime for that.
Okay, thank you. I am not sure what crime they're being. Thank you so much for answering my question. That was a non-answer answer. I am not a lawyer, but I think if a student is cussing out a teacher, I'm not sure what crime that would be called, an actual crime. Sure, a disciplinary act, but if somebody could answer that question. If not, I'm absolutely a red on this, because we are having serious problems with classroom behaviors. Serious problems. You're seeing it on social media. I know you're seeing it. It's in the schools that I represent, and reducing consequences for students who cuss out teachers and beat up other students doesn't seem like an answer to that problem. I would like to yield to my seatmate from Harford County.
And I would like to call on the sponsor of the bill.
I have the floor, but yes, you're the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Delegate, for the question. There is a crime in the education books called disrupting school activities. Students are charged under this for things like yelling at a teacher, storming out of class, things that are typical adolescent behavior that adolescents need to learn is not appropriate behavior, but the criminal justice system is not the place to learn that. And in fact, the contact with the criminal justice system can reduce a student's chances of graduating from high school. So any student, if this bill were to pass, any student that commits a crime, an actual crime, and assaulting a teacher would still be a crime under the criminal code. They can still be charged under the criminal code. This just removes this vague statute from the education code so that students can't be charged for something that is not really a crime, but that they need to learn through normal school procedures is not appropriate behavior. Thank you.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could the maker of the bill answer just a few questions about how often is this actually charged? How many times in the last 5 years has this been charged?
Sponsor.
Well, I'm sorry, Madam Speaker.
Is that sponsor of the bill?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm sorry. The 1 year we have data for, I believe, was 2019. There were 1,700 charges under this statute for students.
And how many of those went to court and they were actually found guilty?
I don't have that information, Delegate, but there is research that shows even charges even if somebody is charged with a crime, if those charges are subsequently dropped, that reduces their chances of graduating from high school. So even charging with a crime is a problem.
Thank you very much. Body, I echo the concerns of my colleague from Baltimore and Harford County. We have a lot of teachers over the years that have reached out to us because they are scared in their classrooms of their students. This bill is not going to help that problem. This bill is not going to increase morale in our teachers in our schools and make them want to go to school every day. When they see down here in Annapolis, we are so tone deaf that we are removing options, removing tools from the toolbox that our officers have to fix this atrocious behavior. It's not only the children that are behaving badly that we have to worry about. There are other children sitting in those classrooms trying to learn, trying to get fed, trying to do something with their lives, and this bad behavior in the classrooms, which is endemic in our state right now, is not going to be fixed by this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Talbot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could the floor leader rise for a question?
Yes, sir.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you. Does the bill apply to private schools or non-public schools?
Yes.
Okay. And so does a private or non-public school have the right to expel a student for behavior?
Yes.
Okay. Does this bill change that?
No. That's still a tool in the arsenal, as we heard earlier. That's still there. Students can still be suspended for misbehavior in the classroom. They can be expelled as well. What we're saying is that we don't want to charge them with a crime for misbehaving in the classroom, Delegate.
So if the behavior in a private school is egregious enough where a teacher gets hurt or another student gets hurt, broken arm, or something
that's assault. They can be charged under the criminal code still.
All right. Thank you, Floor Leader.
You're welcome.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition to this bill. One of the things that I hear most constantly from classroom teachers is about behavior and the difficulties in keeping order in the classroom. Parents complain about it, students complain about it. The amount of bullying that goes on in our schools right now is outrageous. And while 1,700 students may have been charged with this, I'm very curious to know how many were convicted of this. I bet that number is very, very small. And I just want to bring to your attention what this bill actually does. Current law allows this misdemeanor charge for the following reasons. A person may not willfully disturb or otherwise willfully prevent the orderly conduct of the activities, administration, or classes of any institution of elementary students or higher education. This is a last resort. This is a last resort when you're trying to provide an education to a classroom and you've got one student, for whatever reason, can't get their act together and behave. If you don't keep something like this on the books to allow DJS to help and intervene, remember, DJS isn't about just penalties and punishment. DJS is also about social workers and help when you have a student that needs help. But we also have to remember the other students in that classroom. Passing this bill shamefully makes their lives, their education, more difficult. So for that one student that the system perhaps has failed, or their family has failed, or our culture has failed, you're going to make life harder for those other students in the classroom. And I'll go on to the second piece of this. You can't charge it to students who threaten bodily harm to other students. Shame on us for passing something like this. You're taking away the system's ability to charge a student who's threatening bodily harm. Do you hear me? Threatening bodily harm. This is a bad bill, and I urge a red vote.
Madam Speaker.
Everybody, calm down. I don't know who was up first, but be respectful to one another, and some of us has drunk, so yelling is very intense for some of us, so be aware of that. Committee Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise in support of this legislation, and I want to thank the bill sponsor for submitting it again this session, and I ask the body to support this legislation. I am standing as a legislator, but primarily I am standing in support as a black mother of 3 black children. And one of my main concerns is that my 10-year-old, who is incredibly athletic, incredibly gifted, he got straight A's the past 2 quarters, he's almost as tall as I am, and he wears an 8.5 shoe, men's shoe. But my number one overall arching concern is that his disruptive behavior, because he is a silly boy, will get him in trouble, and that he could be charged with something because he is being a 10-year-old kid. I have conversations with him on a regular basis. You can't do things that these other kids do because you look different and you will be in trouble. You will be in trouble if you act out in class. Your other counterparts that are white can do that, but you can't. And some of you don't have to worry about these every single day. You don't have to worry about that, but it is a reality for black kids in school today. It is a reality that every mother, every parent, and every legal guardian worries about. It's not because our culture has failed them. It is not because parents have failed them. It is because society is failing them. Because of that, I respectfully ask that you support this legislation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the passion that everyone's bringing to this debate, and it's right that we should be passionate about an issue like this. And I just want to remind everyone, we're all on the side of kids. We just have different perspectives here on this particular bill. So I appreciate the passion, but let's make sure we're respectful to each other as we're having the debate, as the speaker just said. I'll just say, you know, I know my committee mates make fun of me for always saying, well, I was a teacher. So, well, I was a teacher. And look, I had kids who cussed at me. I had kids who, you know, fought in class. I had kids who, I taught middle school. I had all sorts of wacky stuff happen. But But I'll tell you, and I know hundreds or thousands of teachers I've met over the course of my career as a teacher and a policymaker. I don't think I've ever met a single teacher who said, yeah, that kid who cussed at me, they deserve 6 months in jail, or to be charged with a crime that could put them in jail for 6 months for cussing at a teacher. There are plenty of crimes in the criminal code that are on the books that a kid can be charged with if they do something egregious, and they should be. Okay, if it's bad enough. We have a criminal law article for that. And there are plenty of options that the school has. A kid cusses at me as a teacher, you know, I can sit down and have a conversation with them. I just say, hey, what's going on? Right? Or there's detention, there's suspension, there's lots of options. I don't need to send a kid to jail or charge a kid with a crime that sends them to jail for 6 months for cussing at me. That's all this is. That's all this is. It's a pretty straightforward proposal, and I'd urge the body to support it.
Madam Speaker.
Who was up first? Right here.
Talbot.
Talbot, count.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to just say I support and endorse 100% of what my gentleman friend from Anne Arundel County said. And, you know, as I was listening to his comments, which were exactly where I think I stand, but also where the teachers stand, their frustrations with the classroom. There's one additional thing, and I was trying to understand better what this bill's doing, but what about bullying? I mean, because bullying is threatening behavior against another student in a classroom, and the behavior can result in children making very irrational decisions when they get bullied. And so while that may not be a criminal act, because how do you prove bullying? At the end of the day, the school system inherently is able to sort out and parse out what is a minor child who's 10 years old, who's making an honest mistake in dealing with their colleagues or friends in the school, their teachers. Bullying can be a very serious offense for which there may not be a criminal resolution to that. And so as I was listening to the gentleman from Anne Arundel County, yes, parents want their children to go to school and be safe. They want to have their children go to school and not be bullied. And they want the teachers in the school system to be able to mete out the proper response, and maybe that's short of a criminal act. And so for this bill to pass, you eliminate, frankly, the most important element of dealing with bullying, and that is allowing the school system to act measurable in those situations. Most teachers will understand what I'm saying. And we need to be able to, at the end of the day, and I've said this a number of times over my 7 years, give the teachers their classroom back. We need to be able to give them the ability to sit down, educate a room of students, and do it free of intervention. That doesn't mean that every time there's a serious offense that they go to the criminal system. Maybe it is these 1,700 examples for which we need this bill to, or this current law to remain. I oppose this bill and thank the Anne Arundel County delegate for his comments.
Madam Speaker.
The other gentleman from Talbot.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I wasn't going to get up to speak on this, but I had the opportunity to be with the Dorchester Board of Education last week, and one of their finest teachers attended that meeting to tender his resignation. A native of the county, a fine person, and a wonderful, loved teacher. All the things that are going on in his world are what drove him to decide to end his career. This bill absolutely goes the other way in addressing the problems that he was talking about that meeting. I've met with a number of teachers in a number of different counties, and they are beyond themselves about what's going on in their classrooms and their inability to control the conduct in schools. My children are 10 and 14. I see, I hear, and I know what's going on, and it's not getting better. This bill is not going to help address that. I'm opposing it, and I hope everyone else will also.
Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I wish the folks that are speaking against this bill who are speaking up for teachers would have voted for the blueprint for Maryland's future, because that would have provided the teachers all the resources that they needed in the actual classroom. You know, that's a big issue here, and I keep hearing issues about that students can't be charged or they won't be charged for threatening. Under the current criminal code, a student who makes a threat or threatens other violence at the school can be charged under the Maryland Criminal Code. Threats of violence can still be charged for a student under the criminal code. What this bill does, it stops the school to prison pipeline from exacerbating in the state of Maryland. Every year we're sending 277 students charged with a crime under this current code for disturbing the classroom, from simply just disturbing the classroom. That's not right, that shouldn't happen, we shouldn't do that here in Maryland. I urge my colleagues to pass this bill, to vote green on this bill. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Culver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate it. And I do know that there are a lot of people here that are passionate about this issue for a variety of reasons. The gentleman from Ways and Means mentioned the blueprint. You see, the Republican Party, we actually believe in school choice, which is why we didn't vote for it. Because if we had school choice, we would be able to solve this problem. We would solve the problem because when you do come across children that have very difficult home lives, and they show up to school angry, and we know who these children are, and the schools know who they are. If we had an opportunity to provide them the money and have the money, the tuition money, follow them to an appropriate school, then they could have the choice of, in some cases, going to an appropriate private school, religious school, or maybe even a military school. I have a good friend, Madam Speaker, who grew up in a broken home and had a very difficult time in school, in public school. His parents, who were divorced, ended up sending this child to a military school in Virginia, middle school through high school, and literally turned his life around. You see, the Republican Party, we believe that if we give your constituents an opportunity to choose a better school and have the tuition money from the state of Maryland follow your child from K to 12, that they will have an opportunity to go to the best school that fits them rather than the government schools, which is one size fits all. We believe this with a passion. So I have to rise and respectfully disagree with my friend from Ways and Means about this issue, because we actually are pro-education. But we know for the past 3 years during COVID that children aren't learning, certainly not to the extent that they should be. And if we had these alternative options, then citizens across this state would have much better opportunities. Madam Speaker, you know this. I speak from a place from going to one of those really bad public schools. God knows if many of my friends would be so much better off if they had a choice. So we are passionate about this issue and we're serious about it. And so when we see bills like this, which allow children in the classroom who are threatening teachers and literally committing crimes, we know that there are better alternatives for them. And the alternative isn't to keep them in that classroom. The alternative, rather, is to put them in a school that is appropriate and pay for it and have the money follow them. So this is a principled position that we have. I just wanted to rise and clarify that, because I get a little tired of folks saying, you didn't vote for the blueprint, so you must hate education. Oh no, quite the opposite. We want that blueprint money to follow the students so that they can go to the school that best fits their needs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Beaumont County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, like the majority leader, I was a teacher for a long time, for 35 years. And I want to tell you that one of the things I think this bill was originally written for was for the concern that an outsider would be able to come into my classroom or break into my classroom and disrupt my classroom. And that would be a crime for someone on the outside to disrupt education. Everything that I subscribe to for education is to make instruction better and smoother. And one of the ways you make instruction better and smoother is dealing appropriately with students who are having difficulty, sorry about that, who are having difficulty learning how to behave. I do want to tell you this. The right way to deal with them is not to sweep them away, okay? Not to call in a police officer to take them out of your classroom. I will submit to you that if there are educators who feel like that is the default, then they are failing at their jobs. I have had students swear at me. I have had students shove furniture, drop books, slam doors. I don't take it personally. I understand. They're learning and they're growing, and I have dealt with them, and we can deal with them. We do not need to criminalize them like we would some stranger from outside the building who came in and disrupted our educational circumstance. They are members of that institution when they are there, and they deserve to be treated with the respect they deserve while they were there and allow the opportunities to recover from errors that they make. Thank you.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we heard that there were 1,700 of these cases in 2019. These are 2020 numbers that were returned from MSA's website on Google in 3/4 of a second. 882,538 students pre-kindergarten through high, 1,428 public schools, 121,175 students enrolled in 1,304 private schools. Doesn't sound like this is being a pipeline to me. Doesn't sound like we're trying to sweep people away. It sounds like it's being used in the most egregious of cases. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
The other gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you. Can I have a question for Mr. Leader, please?
Yes, sir.
So just making sure that I looked on my floor system and I didn't see any amendments to the bill. Am I missing anything, or was the bill?
No, that's right. This bill passed out of the House last year in its current form.
So as I'm looking at a letter from MSEA, and they asked for an amendment, and they believe that this legislation exempts students from the responsibility for too many offenses, including molestation and bodily harm. So are they correct or are they wrong?
You know, MSC, I'm glad you brought up the teachers. The teachers do support this bill. And under the current criminal code, they can still be charged with a sexual offense. Students can still be charged with a sexual offense.
Right, but according to them, so basically what you're saying is the teachers are okay by being molested and bodily harm because of the amendment was not offered.
That's not what I said, and that's not the intent of this bill either.
Right, but without the amendment, molestation,
Delegate, under current law, anyone can still be charged with molestation. This bill doesn't change that.
So MSC is wrong in their letter, is what you're saying.
What I'm saying is what you're stating is wrong, and they still can be charged for molestation and sexual offenses. That's current law. That's still under the criminal code. It doesn't change that.
All right,
this bill does not change that.
Well, according to MSC, they do. Well, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If you notice, there are many of us from the great county of Anne Arundel County, and the reason why I am supporting this bill is because, unfortunately, 2019 to 2020, Anne Arundel County had the horrible distinction of having the most arrests out of the entire Maryland, out of state of Maryland. We had 640 arrests in Anne Arundel County. We also had 406 of those were physical arrests. So I ask you to imagine being in a classroom and having your classmate hauled off in handcuffs. Now, whether or not those convictions last or not, that impression stays with each and every student that is there. And I wanted to make that distinction because, unfortunately, Anne Arundel County, we rate the highest, not the distinction I'd like to have. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I don't stand up a lot and speak about these things, but this bill is close to my heart for a couple of reasons. I know we've heard a little bit about some different people's friends, and we've heard the phrase also, the kids who just can't or don't want to get it together. We've also heard those kids that everybody knows are a problem. I really appreciate the comments by Mr. Vice Chair, my subcommittee chair, and particularly my esteemed committee chair, who was talking about the disparity between the kids who are likely to be arrested under these sort of provisions. And I do want to point out, for clarity, there is nothing, if we pass this bill, there is nothing that a child would be arrested for outside of the classroom that they could not still be arrested for inside of the classroom. That seems to be a misconception and some misinformation about this bill. So not only are children of color much more likely to be charged under these sort of disruption laws, which is what we're talking about, a very specific school disruption law, but 25% of the arrests that happen are kids with disabilities. So most of you know I have worked for years with kids, particularly on the autism spectrum, and also ran the Tourette Syndrome Association for the Mid-Atlantic area. These are the kids that are being charged. It's my friend who had a tic that forced him to throw pencils across the room. It was not a volitional act. He did not want to do it, but under this law, he could have been arrested. He was not, because the schools understood that that wasn't the right way to deal with it, because we had trained them, but he could have been arrested. And instead of being in a PhD program at the University of Maryland right now, he would have gone into that prison pipeline. So the kids who have disabilities, who call out in class, those who have ADHD and can't sit still and get out of their chairs, those are the kids that we're talking about. So I'm going to vote green on this bill, and I'm going to do it proudly for the right reasons, and I urge you to do the same. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes. The gentleman from Kent.
Caroline.
Caroline.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I mean, I don't think the issue is about the students. We're always going to have students that are going to be a challenge in the classroom. That's never going to go away. The issue is twofold. One, we have, like any profession, you're going to have good teachers, you're going to have bad teachers. And the way things, and I'm going to challenge the Ways and Means Committee, actually, sometime in the future, because right now it's impossible to hold bad teachers accountable, especially the tenured teachers accountable, and it's much more difficult to fire bad teachers. And so I'm going to challenge this body sometime in the future to be able to move toward that, but I don't think we're going to do it, mainly because it'll be opposed by MSEA. The second problem is, and we've talked about this already, is that our teachers, our good teachers, don't have the tools at their disposal to be able to effectively handle these kids who are going to be a challenge in the classroom. That's the second part. And this is where we have a responsibility as legislators to give those teachers, those good teachers, those tools to be able to control the classroom. Because these classrooms, my brother's an art teacher at East End High School. He was formerly an elementary school kid. So these students that he has right now, he's watched those kids grow up. He knows, fortunately for him, he knows how to effectively to control the classroom because he knows those kids. Not every teacher does. But we have a responsibility as a body, as lawmakers, to give our good teachers the tools to be able to control the classroom. But we're not doing that. We're not doing. You can talk to any teacher anywhere in the state of Maryland, and they'll tell you exactly the same thing. They are challenged right now, and we're doing nothing to fix that problem. I don't want to go after the kids. I don't want to go after the kids at all. I mean, we have these. They're always going to be there. They're always going to have these challenged kids. We have to fix the problem by giving the teachers the tools to be able to effectively do their jobs. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Washington.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, as I think about this situation, I think everyone here knows that teachers are crying out for help. They need help in their classrooms. And it's unfortunate this bill is going to remove a tool that they have right now and to make it less able for those teachers to get the help they need. We just heard testimony from like a delegate from the Eastern Shore who talked about a teacher who just quit. And I'm going to talk about a teacher in Washington County that hit our local paper who gave them the 2 weeks notice in front of the school board. And here's what he said, and this is from the paper. I've had an administration in my classroom every single day due to safety concerns within my classroom of 7-year-olds. He taught 2nd grade. I want to just list some of the events here that have happened in my classroom, starting off with constant disruptions from banging on the teacher's desk to throwing chairs to breaking down the classroom windows, throwing books, stealing my keys, stealing my iPad, stealing my wallet, stealing my sunglasses, and even my phone. I've also had students that run out to the road. I've had to retrieve them out of the woods near our primary school. I've had students that have run out of my classroom down a hallway, and I cannot leave the other students because I have 20 students in the room, so I've had to call for help. Teachers need help. This bill goes against teachers. That's why I'm going to vote red. Thank you.
Gentlelady from Hartford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been around for a little while around here, and I'm kind of like gray hair, and I think over the years we've watched that society has changed. The family unit is different, and I've been accused of implicit bias because I said, the black fathers aren't as prevalent as they were in the 40s and the 50s. And the bottom line is that we need to understand that the teachers are dealing with a society now that has changed significantly. There's lower rates of marriage, there's a lot of underage pregnancy, there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of drugs. Basically, the society has changed. So the place where the children go are the schools. And to deny the teachers the support and the tools to deal with difficult children that are having a lot of problems, not one problem, two problems, but a multitude. And also the teachers are expected to, some children may need IEPs, and there aren't the resources to do that for the particular school. Come on, this bill is not a good bill and is taking away some tools for the teachers to manage the classroom. So I hope that people consider voting red. This is not a good bill. Thank you.
Gentleman from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I know that passions are running high right now, but I ask all of you to be respectful in your language. Do not speak as to the passion and concern of black fathers when you are not one. I speak on behalf of all the black fathers in this room. Tropes should not be used. All right, folks love their children. We should keep the conversation to education. I think that is fair for everyone here. But let's not speak about things that we do not know and do not experience. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing Gentlelady from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the previous question.
Question for the House is to move to the previous question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 84 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will take the call.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to explain my vote.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Minority
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Leader.
All I would like to say is this, explaining my vote. If you want to work together, you have to respect each other and find common ground to work together. If you don't want to, if you want to turn this room into a basketball arena where we cheer for the people we like and we boo the people we don't, that is demeaning. We do it, you do it, everybody seems to do it. I don't remember my first year when I came here, everybody clapping and applauding and cheering and booing, and I don't remember it. 7 years ago. For some reason, we do it today. We tell ourselves we're not Washington. We tell ourselves we're better than that. We tell ourselves we try to look at each other as friends. Let's mean it. Thank you.
Parliamentarian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Explain your vote.
Madam Speaker, I rise to explain my vote and also echo the sentiments of the minority leader. I think that we need to rise to a higher level. Colleagues, I think that in terms of the clapping and the booing and the quips and the comments, we have to respect each other as colleagues, and as the House parliamentarian, I want to remind us not to impugn communities, not to impugn our various parties. I have the respect and know the best intentions of every single person in this room, and I know that we are all fighting for our communities. And I just ask everyone for us to just take it down a notch. Let's breathe in. We have some big bills coming up. Let's have great debate. And I'm proud to vote green on this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam
Explain
Speaker.
his vote.
Explain my vote very briefly. I once met a young girl who was a page here on the House floor. She was from Essex. She went to Chesapeake High School. She was very interested in politics, and we had a great discussion, and she talked about a lot of the things that were important to her. She told me about an experience she had, and she was concerned about how things were getting out of control in her school. She said she had been cornered in the locker room by a young man, and he attempted to sexually assault her. She told me about how the school swept the issue under the rug, and I asked how the issue wrapped up, what happened. She said, well, my boyfriend beat him up. That was the fix. And ever since that year, I've heard sporadic reports of this, the bullying issue. I mean, we're long past that. It's gotten to the point where we have sexual issues in the classroom that are out of control. I have 2 high schools in my district where students are staging protests, walking out of the school because the school will not address the sexual molestation issues in the school. These are student-led protest walkouts. We have real issues in our schools. This isn't about, respectfully, this isn't about students throwing pencils. This isn't about teachers saying we need to arrest our students. This is about putting proper bounds on handling the issues that we have and giving teachers the tools they need to really just create a proper learning environment for all our students. And that is why I'll be voting no today.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To explain my vote, I want to first thank the sponsor of the bill and the committee for the work that they've done. I think this is slowly chipping away at the school-to-prison pipeline. We know it is very real. And we have to get back to the point where we're not siphoning kids from the classroom to the jailhouse, and I think this bill helps us get there. I also think it's important for us to, just by virtue of the work that we do in this body, for us to deal in data and for us to deal in facts. And I would encourage everyone, but particularly those who believe that absent black fathers are a problem, to look at a CDC report that was done that not only showed that black fathers were very much involved in their kids' lives, but more so than any other group. When we put those things out there, we're perpetuating not only tropes, but we're perpetuating what is wrong with policy and what drives policy. So take a look at that CDC report, and let's get back to actually dealing in data and talking about facts rather than what we hear from some sort of a news network. Thank you.
Gentleman from Frederick to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To explain my vote, as was stated by the floor leader, I'm concerned that the purpose of this particular statute was to have a lesser tool rather than to ramp it up to assault. So I'm concerned this may have a reverse effect of the intent, and for that reason I'm casting a no vote.
Madam Speaker, explain my vote.
Explain your vote.
Thank you. As a former classroom teacher not long ago, 3 years ago, and a support staff of students with autism, a specialist in the school system, I've been involved in restraining students, unfortunately. It's not a good feeling. Students who throw iPads intentionally at your head, students who pick up chairs and throw them at the teacher or other students, students who throw frozen water bottles, students who throw their shoes, students who throw many things. It's a very challenged look if you've ever been in a classroom and witnessed students who engage in these type of very dangerous and disruptive behaviors. No teacher wakes up every morning to say, who am I going to call for in my classroom to help a student be removed? Teachers are very passionate, at least most of the ones that I know. They work hard to keep their students engaged, but sometimes it gets too much to the point that they have to keep themselves safe and the safety of other students. So security has to be called. Students have to be restrained. Students have to be removed from the classroom. It's a hard thing to go through, and it's a hard thing to see. That's why I voted red on this bill. Thank you very much.
Clerk will take the call. There being 94 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 84, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 87, Higher Education, Return Peace Corps Volunteers in-state tuition.
is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 87, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 91, irredeemable ground rents, notice and filing requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 91, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 136, education, public and non-public schools, seizure action plans, Brindley's Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 136, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Gentleman to the left from Baltimore County.
Yes, ma'am. Vote change, please. Is it okay for a vote change?
Was it for this
Yes.
last one?
House Bill 53, I'm sorry. I thought we was...
Did you?
House Bill 53, nay to yay.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. HB 20 and HB 3992, nay, please. Thank you.
Gentleman from St. Mary's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. HB 43 to read.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Parliamentarian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, just a quick parliamentary note. If you have a vote change, you should wait until the end of the calendar. If your button didn't work, you should stand up immediately. So just a reminder. Thank you.
That ends the... Huh? Gentleman from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work for HB 237, and I'd like to be recorded in a yay. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any others? That ends the work at the desk. Committee announcements, appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The full committee will not meet, but subcommittees will be meeting this afternoon.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House Judiciary Committee will be having bill hearings at 1 o'clock today.
Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Environment and Transportation Committee will continue public hearings at 1 p.m.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will continue public bill hearings at 1 p.m. today, followed by a voting session.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Economic Matters will be meeting at 1 o'clock for bill hearings. 1 o'clock for bill hearings.
Health and Government Operations. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The committee will have bill hearings at 1:30. Thank you.
Any caucus announcements?
No caucus announcements at the moment, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County for the Black History Moment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, today you must learn the story of a man who has dedicated himself to preserving Black history in Baltimore County and in Maryland, Mr. Louis S. Diggs. Mr. Diggs is a prolific writer, genealogist, and historian. After serving in an all-black Maryland National Guard unit during the Korean War, retiring from the military with 20 years of distinguished service, and then working in D.C. public schools, he found himself substitute teaching at Catonsville High School. In that role, when his black students voiced their frustration that they had difficulty finding information on the historical backgrounds of their communities, he made it his life's work to bring this forgotten history to light. Mr. Diggs has written 13 books chronicling the historic past of Baltimore County's African American communities, their struggles, and the pivotal roles they played in shaping Baltimore County and Maryland as a whole. He has written histories of black communities in Catonsville, Towson, Turner Station, and Overley, just to name a few, as well as histories of Maryland's all-African American National Guard unit, the role former slaves played from Baltimore County, and the Civil War regiments, and finally, in his most recent work, a history of African American resting places in order to help others find their ancestors. Mr. Diggs' books tells the rich history of black Marylanders at the individual and community level to bring these stories to light and safeguard them for future generations. His work ensures that citizens of Maryland will always know the hardships, the triumphs, and the great deeds performed by black Marylanders and how black communities were integral to the development of the Maryland we know today. Mr. Diggs, however, is not only a man of words, but of deeds as well, and has been active not only in writing about black history, but in preserving its physical legacy as well. He worked with our Madam Speaker in securing grant funding from the legislature to renovate a small church in Woodstock, Maryland, a church with a history dating back to 1884, when the land was purchased by freed slaves so that it could be converted into a museum to house artifacts of African American life in Baltimore County. Today, that museum bears his name, the Diggs Johnson Museum. Mr. Diggs' work helps to safeguard black history, and I can think of no better time to honor that important endeavor than now, during Black History Month. Thank you.
Quorum called before adjournment.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will take the call. There being 135 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, as we keep in our minds and our hearts the people of the Ukraine today who are the victims of an unjustifiable, unnecessary assault by a tyrannical state, and the thousands of Marylanders of Ukrainian descent who are hurting today, I move that the House stand adjourned until Friday, February 25th at 11 a.m. for a regular session.